Introduction. Sylvie gives birth to Rudius's fourth child, a boy named Sieghart. The family should be celebrating, but everyone immediately notices the child's bright green hair. In this world, green hair carries a frightening meaning because it reminds people of Laplace. Rudius tries to stay calm, but he understands why this omen terrifies everyone around him. The peace of the home is broken when a familiar connected to Perugius appears and delivers an order. Rudius must bring the newborn child to the floating fortress. Rudius gathers his wives and prepares himself. If anyone threatens his son, even a legendary figure like Perugius, Rudius is ready to stand between them and the baby. Event 1. Sieghart's green hair causes fear. Sylvie is hit hardest because the child is hers. She worries that Sieghart's hair will make people fear him, judge him, or treat him as something dangerous before he can even grow up. Rudius reassures Sylvie that he will protect their son. Still, deep down he knows that simple words may not be enough when Perugius is involved. Roxy and Eris also stand with the family. Their presence matters because this is not only Sylvie's child. This is the Greyret household facing a threat together. The family leaves home carrying Sieghart, and the story shifts from domestic happiness to a trial that may decide the baby's future. Event 2. Perugius judges the child. Perugius does not attack immediately, but his judgment is frightening. He wants to know whether this child is connected to Laplace or whether Rudius will still oppose Laplace if the worst possibility comes true. Rudius answers as both a father and an ally. He says he still intends to fight Laplace, but he also makes it clear that he will not casually abandon his child. This is the heart of the trial. Rudius must prove that loving Sieghart does not mean betraying the world, and protecting the world does not mean throwing away his family. Perugius decides not to pass final judgment inside the fortress. Instead, he sets a trial that will take the family to ancient ruins connected to Laplace. Event 3. Journey to the Divine Continent. The trip is not a normal family journey. Every step reminds Rudius that they are walking through history tied to dragons, ancient magic, and the shadow of Laplace. They pass through majestic landscapes and approach Alus, a city on the Divine Continent. The scale of the place makes the group feel small before the world's older powers. Rudius watches the people and the roads carefully. His instincts as a father remain awake, because Sieghart's safety matters more than sightseeing or politics. By the time they reach the city, the family has entered an unfamiliar world where Perugius's authority and Laplace's legacy seem to hang over everything. Event 4. The ancient christening. Sieghart is brought forward while Rudius and the others wait in silence. Everyone understands that the result may shape how the world treats him in the future. The ritual examines the child and the meaning of his green hair. For Rudius, every second feels like a test of his ability to protect his own family. The answer brings relief. Sieghart is not treated as Laplace reborn, and Perugius does not condemn him as an enemy. Instead of ending in tragedy, the christening becomes a moment of fragile acceptance. Sieghart receives a path forward as himself, not merely as an omen. Event 5. Relief after the christening. Sylvie's relief is especially important. She can finally look at her son without the same crushing fear that the world will take him away. Roxy and Eris share in the moment in their own ways. The family's unusual shape becomes a strength here, because all three wives stand together around the child. Perugius's decision does not erase future danger, but it proves that Rudius's family has survived the first major tests surrounding Sieghart. The group returns from the Divine Continent changed. Rudius has protected his son, but he has also been reminded that fate will always reach toward his household. Event 6. Nanahoshi's big experiment. The teleportation device is magnificent and complex, combining research, magic circles, and years of effort. For Nanahoshi, this is not just science, it is her hope of returning home. Rudius and the others support the attempt, knowing how much it means to her. If it works, the door between worlds may finally open. The device activates, but the result is not the success everyone hoped for. Something interferes, and the attempt to return Nanahoshi to Earth fails. The failure crushes Nanahoshi emotionally and physically. The dream she has carried since arriving in this world suddenly feels farther away than ever. Event 7. Why the experiment failed. She suspects that another person from her original world, Akito Shinohara, may be connected to the timeline in a way that prevents her return. This changes the scale of the mystery. Nanahoshi's problem is no longer just teleportation. It may involve causality, time, and events that have not happened yet. Rudius reports these findings to Orsted, who understands the weight of time loops and future interference better than anyone else. By the end of this section, Nanahoshi's fate feels unresolved. She has not given up, but the path home is now tied to mysteries far beyond ordinary magic. Event 8. Search for Geese continues. Orsted and Rudius discuss intelligence, possible enemy movements, and the need to locate powerful people connected to Geese's future plans. The search points Rudius toward the Sword Sanctum and the conflict zone. These are places tied to powerful fighters and old connections from his past. Eris joins him for this journey, which makes sense because the Sword Sanctum is part of her history and because she is one of Rudius's strongest protectors. The trip becomes more than a mission. It forces Rudius and Eris to revisit memories, old wounds, and people who knew them before their current life together. Event 9. Eris returns to the Sword Sanctum. The atmosphere is filled with swords, discipline, and pride. Rudius sees again how much this place shaped the warrior Eris became. They learn that the world of sword masters has changed. Galfarian is no longer simply sitting in his old position, and new power balances have formed among the strongest swordsmen. For Eris, revisiting the Sword Sanctum is not just about gathering information. It is also a reminder of the choice she made when she left Rudius to become strong. Rudius and Eris leave with more clues, but also with the feeling that the strongest fighters in the world are beginning to move toward the final conflict. Event 10. Into the conflict zone. Rudius and Eris encounter Sarah and the Amazons again. Seeing Sarah reminds Rudius of his lonely period before he reunited with Sylphie and later reconciled with Eris. The meeting is less painful than before because Rudius has already made peace with Sarah. Still, her presence quietly shows how many lives his past decisions touched. The party exchanges information and moves through dangerous territory, searching for traces of the North god Kalman and Geese. This section has the feeling of a road movie. Old acquaintances, uneasy towns, mercenaries, and the constant sense that the enemy is always one step ahead. Event 11. Reunion with Zoldat. At first, Zoldat is dealing with Millie's knights who are demanding he hand over a demonkind companion. Rudius steps in and realizes the situation is connected to his own request to hunt for Geese. Rudius calms the knights and prevents the confrontation from escalating. The moment shows how much authority and experience he now carries compared with his younger self. Zoldat tells Rudius that Kalman was once in the region and had taught North God-style techniques, but he is no longer there. Before Rudius leaves, Zoldat reminds him how different he used to be. That casual reminder accidentally opens one of the most painful memories between Rudius and Eris. Event 12. Zoldat reveals Rudius's past pain. Eris hears directly how close Rudius came to despair. Until this moment, she understood that she had hurt him, but not the full depth of what her silence caused. She runs out, overwhelmed by guilt. For someone as direct and fearless as Eris, emotional pain is harder to face than any sword fight. Rudius finds her outside and speaks gently. He tells her that, even though her leaving hurt him, those years also led him to meet people who changed his life. Eris promises she will never leave without telling him again. This is one of the most important quiet moments in their marriage, because the wound from Volume 6 finally receives another layer of healing. Event 13. Eris visits her family's graves. The scene is quiet and heavy. Rudius imagines what must have happened after the teleportation disaster, and Eris faces the memory of the family she lost. They talk about marriage and the people who are no longer there to see it. Eris believes her parents would have been happy that she and Rudius ended up together. Rudius decides to move their remains to a proper noble graveyard, giving them a more fitting resting place. This moment closes part of Eris's past. The journey began as a search for enemies, but it also becomes a chance to honor the dead and heal old grief. Event 14. Reporting back to Orsted. Kishirika grants Rudius another demon eye, the Eye of Clairvoyance. This power lets him see faraway places and becomes a major tool in the hunt for Geese. With the new eye, Rudius can finally push past the limits of ordinary searching. The world feels larger, but also more reachable. The investigation reveals that Geese is connected to the Bi-Herald Kingdom. This gives Rudius and Orsted their next major direction. The volume's main mission now has a destination. Rudius has protected his son, confronted painful memories, and gained a new eye, but the real enemy is still moving. Event 16. Sieghart's place in the family is secured after the christening crisis. The Greyret family can finally breathe. Sieghart is no longer only a frightening symbol of Laplace. He is a child welcomed and protected by his family. This added event emphasizes the emotional relief that follows Perugius's judgment. The danger was real, and avoiding it lets Rudius see his son as himself again. Sylphie's feelings are especially important. The fear around green hair and Laplace could have turned into tragedy, but the family chooses love instead of suspicion. The moment also shows the difference between prophecy and personal choice. Sieghart may carry a strange destiny, but Rudius refuses to treat him as a monster. For the wider story, This event matters because it keeps the family intact while also reminding us that fate remains complicated. Event 17. Nanahoshi's research enters a new failure stage. Nanahoshi's experiment is one of the important scientific and emotional threads of Volume 23. She comes close to progress, but the failure reveals that the problem is deeper than expected. This section shows her frustration without reducing her to despair. She is still fighting to return home, but each failure makes the mystery of summoning and time displacement more difficult. Rudius watches this as someone who understands both worlds. He cannot fully solve her problem, but he can support the investigation and help keep her from being alone. The research also connects the personal and cosmic sides of the story. Nanahoshi's journey is about homesickness, but the mechanics may affect the future of the entire world. For video pacing, this event gives Volume 23 a thoughtful middle section after the emotional tension around Sieghart. Event 18. Eris confronts the pain she caused. When Eris hears Zoldat describe Rudius's despair after she left him, the past finally hits her from the outside. She knew she hurt him, but now she hears how deeply he broke. This added event is crucial for Eris's emotional development. She is strong enough to fight elite swordsmen, but this scene forces her to face guilt rather than an enemy. Rudius does not use the story to punish her. Instead, the moment becomes an opportunity for both of them to understand the scar left by their separation. The visit to her family's graves deepens the mood. Eris carries grief, guilt, love, and pride all at once, and Volume 23 lets those emotions surface. For narration, this event shows that old wounds do not vanish after marriage. They can still be revisited, understood, and healed more honestly. Event 19. The trail to Geese narrows after the family and research-focused material. The hunt for Geese becomes sharper. Rudius and Orsted continue collecting hints, and every clue feels more important. Kishirika's involvement adds a sense of old-world mystery. Her powers and chaotic personality make her a valuable but unpredictable source of information. This section shifts the tone from personal reflection back to pursuit. The enemy is still somewhere ahead, and Rudius cannot let family comfort make him careless. Geese's own movements in the background confirm that he is still gathering pieces for Hitagami. That makes every delay dangerous. Volume 23 therefore ends by reconnecting its personal arcs to the coming war. The family survives one crisis, but the enemy alliance continues growing. Conclusion. Geese approaches Badagati, the immortal demon king whose strength and history make him terrifying as either friend or enemy. This meeting changes the feeling of the story. The conflict is no longer only about tracking one clever traitor. It is about the enemy collecting monsters, legends, and world-class fighters. Volume 23 closes with Rudius's family safe for now, but the larger war much closer than before. Sieghart survives Perugius's trial. Nanahoshi's mystery deepens, and Geese's side grows stronger. The conclusion leaves a clear warning. Rudius has won important emotional battles, but the final battlefield is approaching, and the people gathering there are far more dangerous than ordinary enemies.